The diamond caught the light as he knelt before me, its brilliance almost blinding in the restaurant's soft glow. 5 carats at least, nestled in platinum. Worth more than I'd make in 5 years of carrying plates and enduring the occasional pinch from drunk executives. "Olivia," said Nathaniel Blackwood, his voice steady despite being on one knee in his $3,000 suit. "Will you marry me?" The restaurant had gone silent. 60 pairs of eyes burned into my skin. My colleagues, the same people who'd seen me spill soup on my uniform just hours earlier, stood frozen, trays suspended in mid-air. How could I explain that 6 weeks ago, I didn't even know who Nathaniel Blackwood was? That the 38-year-old tech mogul worth $8.2 billion according to Forbes had walked into Bellini's on a rainy Tuesday and requested my section specifically. That after I'd served him his medium-rare steak and poured his Bordeaux, he'd left a $1,000 tip with a business card that simply read, "I'd like to see you again." I should have thrown it away. Should have recognized the danger in his eyes, not cruelty, something worse, calculation. But poverty makes you stupid sometimes. Or maybe just desperate. My mother's medical bills had arrived that morning. The insurance company had denied her claim again. Stage 4 cancer waits for no one, especially not insurance appeals. So I called him. And now, 6 dizzying weeks later, the 12th richest man in America was proposing marriage in front of a restaurant full of people who earned in a year what he spent on a weekend. "Yes," I whispered, though everything inside me screamed to run. His smile didn't reach his eyes as he slid the ring onto my finger. The weight of it felt like a shackle. The restaurant erupted in applause. Phones recorded the fairy-tale moment, billionaire falls for ordinary waitress. How romantic. How unexpected. How utterly unlike the Nathaniel Blackwood known for ruthless acquisitions and cold efficiency. Only I noticed how his hand tightened around mine when I tried to pull away. Only I caught the whispered words against my ear as he embraced me, "Smart choice, Olivia. Now we can begin." Begin what? I wanted to ask, but his lips were on mine, and cameras flashed, immortalizing our engagement for the world to see. Later that night, as his private jet carried us to celebrate at his island estate, I stared at the ring on my finger and remembered my mother's words, "If something seems too good to be true, look for the trap." The trap, I was beginning to realize, wasn't the proposal. It was what Nathaniel Blackwood knew about me, about my past, that had brought him into my restaurant in the first place. And as the coastline disappeared beneath us, I understood with terrifying clarity that saying no had never been an option. The island appeared at dawn, a crescent of white sand embraced by turquoise waters. From the air, Nathaniel's estate resembled a modern fortress, glass and steel rising from tropical vegetation, infinity pools reflecting the sunrise. Beautiful and impenetrable. "Welcome home," he said as the helicopter descended onto a private landing pad. Home. The word felt hollow. A staff of 12 greeted us with practiced smiles and downcast eyes. The head housekeeper, Elena, showed me to my suite, a sprawling space larger than my entire apartment building back home. "Mr. Blackwood had it prepared to your preferences," Elena said, gesturing to the closet already filled with clothes in my size. "My preferences?" I asked, running my fingers over silk dresses and cashmere sweaters I could never have afforded. "Based on your profile, miss." "What profile?" Elena's smile faltered. "I'm sure Mr. Blackwood will explain everything. He's requested your presence for breakfast on the East Terrace in 1 hour." After she left, I explored my gilded cage. The bathroom contained every product I'd ever mentioned liking in passing. My favorite books lined custom shelves. The refrigerator held the specific brand of sparkling water I occasionally splurged on. This wasn't romance. It was surveillance. I found my phone and called my mother's hospital room. No answer. I tried her nurse. Voicemail. Panic rose in my throat as I dialed my best friend, Zoe. "Olivia." Her voice was thick with sleep. "Where are you?" "It's all over the internet, you and Nathaniel Blackwood." "Zoe, listen to me. Something's wrong. He knows things about me, things I never told him. I need you to check on my mom." The phone went dead. I looked up to find Nathaniel standing in the doorway, a tablet in his hand. "Network issues," he said smoothly. "Common out here." Your mother is fine, by the way. I've moved her to a private facility. Better doctors, experimental treatments. She's in good hands. My blood ran cold. What do you want from me? He crossed the room, his movements fluid and controlled. Up close, I could see the flecks of gold in his green eyes, the faint scar along his jawline. Directness. I appreciate that. He sat on the edge of the bed. What I want is simple, Olivia. I want you to be my wife for exactly 1 year. In return, your mother receives the best care money can buy, your student loans disappear, and you walk away with $10 million. And if I refuse? His smile was gentle, almost sad. Why would you? Your mother has approximately 8 months without the treatment I'm providing. Your debt is crushing you. And let's not forget the incident in Seattle 4 years ago. My heart stopped. How do you know about that? I know everything about you, Olivia. The name change. The sealed juvenile records. The night that still gives you nightmares. He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. I flinched. Don't worry. Your secrets are safe with me, as long as we have an understanding. What kind of man researches someone like this? Plans all this? A thorough one. He stood, straightening his cuffs. I didn't become who I am by leaving things to chance. I needed a wife with specific qualities. You fit the profile perfectly. What qualities? I demanded, anger finally breaking through my fear. Intelligence. Resilience. Beauty, of course. A complicated past that makes you immalleable. He checked his watch. And most importantly, someone with nothing to lose and everything to gain by accepting my offer. There are millions of women who fit that description. Why me? Something flickered across his face, the first genuine emotion I'd seen. Breakfast is in 30 minutes. We can discuss the details of our arrangement then. After he left, I sat trembling on the edge of the bed. I should run. Swim away if necessary. But where would I go? How would I help my mother? And what would happen when Nathaniel Blackwood, a man who clearly collected people's secrets like others collected art, decided to reveal mine? I showered and dressed in clothes that fit me perfectly. As I fastened a delicate gold necklace around my throat, I caught my reflection in the mirror. Behind me, through the window, I could see Nathaniel on the terrace, speaking intensely with a man I didn't recognize. Money changed hands. Documents were passed. In that moment, I realized the truth. I wasn't just marrying Nathaniel Blackwood. I was becoming part of whatever dangerous game he was playing. And I had no idea what the rules were. Breakfast was a surreal affair. Crystal glasses, fresh orchids, and a view of the ocean that stretched to infinity. Nathaniel sat across from me, calmly spreading marmalade on toast while explaining how our marriage would function. The public story is simple, he said. Whirlwind romance. Love at first sight. The billionaire and the waitress, people eat that up. We'll do a small ceremony here next week, followed by a larger reception in New York for business associates. Next week. I nearly choked on my coffee. That's insane. It's efficient. My board meeting is in 5 weeks, and I need to be married before then. I set down my fork. Why the rush? What does your board have to do with any of this? Nathaniel's eyes met mine, calculating. My father's will included certain stipulations for maintaining control of Blackwood Technologies. One of which is that I must be married by my 40th birthday. That's in 6 weeks. So I'm just a checkbox on your inheritance list. You're a solution to a problem. He dabbed his lips with a napkin. And I'm a solution to yours. The man I'd seen Nathaniel speaking with earlier appeared at the terrace entrance. Tall, with silver hair and cold eyes. Ah, Richard, Nathaniel said. Perfect timing. Olivia, this is Richard Hargrove, my attorney. He has some paperwork for you. Richard placed a thick document before me. Prenuptial agreement, confidentiality clauses, and behavioral guidelines. Behavioral guidelines. I flipped through the pages. You're dictating how I behave. Nothing unreasonable, Nathaniel assured me. Public appearances, social media protocols, expected attendance at certain functions. I scanned the document, my stomach sinking. This says I need approval for any communication with press or media. That I can't leave the country without permission. That all my medical decisions, I looked up, horrified. This isn't a marriage contract. It's ownership papers. Richard cleared his throat. Ms. Reynolds, given your background and Mr. Blackwood's position, these protections are standard. And if I don't sign? Then our arrangement ends, Nathaniel said simply. Along with your mother's treatment. The threat hung in the air between us. I thought of my mother, how small she'd looked in her hospital bed. How the pain had carved lines into her face. I need time to read this. Of course, Nathaniel said. Richard will answer any questions. I have calls to make. He stood, then paused. Oh, and Olivia? Your mother's new oncologist will be calling at noon. I thought you might want to speak with him. After he left, I turned to Richard. Is he always like this? The attorney's professional mask slipped for just a moment. Mr. Blackwood is focused. When he wants something, he gets it. And he wants me? Why? Richard's expression revealed nothing. My job is to handle the legal aspects of your arrangement, Ms. Reynolds. Not to speculate on Mr. Blackwood's motivations. I spent the next 3 hours combing through the contract, finding clause after clause designed to control every aspect of my life. One section particularly caught my attention. Upon completion of the 1-year term, I would be required to participate in a dissolution announcement of Nathaniel's choosing. What does this mean? I asked Richard. Mr. Blackwood will determine how your separation is presented to the public. So he could blame me? Make me look like the villain? Richard shrugged. He could. Or he could make it amicable. That's his prerogative. By noon, I still hadn't signed. The phone in my suite rang, the oncologist, right on schedule. Dr. Patel described treatment protocols that sounded like science fiction, clinical trials my mother would never have qualified for otherwise. We're very optimistic, he said. With these treatments, your mother's 5-year survival rate increases significantly. After the call, I found Nathaniel in his study, surrounded by screens displaying stock prices and news headlines. I'll sign, I said, my voice hollow. But I want to add my own conditions. He looked up, surprised. Such as? My mother's treatment continues regardless of what happens between us. The money goes into a trust one control, not directly to me. And I want a guarantee of safety. Safety. His eyebrow arched. Don't play dumb. You know about Seattle. You know what happened to me. I need to know I'm not walking into another nightmare. Something shifted in his expression, respect, perhaps. Fair enough. Richard can add those stipulations. I placed my hands on his desk, leaning forward. One more thing. I want the truth. What's the real reason you chose me? Out of all the desperate women in the world, why me? Nathaniel stood, closing the distance between us. For a moment, I thought he might touch me, but he stopped just short. 4 years ago, a young woman named Olivia Chambers disappeared from Seattle after witnessing something she shouldn't have. She changed her name, her appearance, her entire identity. She buried her past so deeply that even federal investigators couldn't find her. His voice dropped lower. But I did. My blood turned to ice. How? The same way I find anything valuable, with resources and determination. He reached into his desk drawer and removed a small flash drive. This contains everything I have on you, including the real reason you ran from Seattle. It's yours now. I took it with trembling fingers. This doesn't answer my question. Doesn't it? His eyes held mine. I needed someone who understands survival. Someone who knows how to keep secrets. Someone who's already proven they can disappear and reinvent themselves if necessary. Why would I need to disappear again? The smile that crossed his face sent chills down my spine. Let's hope you don't. But in my world, Olivia, it's always best to be prepared for the worst. As I left his study, flash drive clutched in my hand, I realized I wasn't just marrying a billionaire with control issues. I was marrying a man who had found me when no one else could, a man who believed my greatest value lay in my ability to vanish. And I couldn't shake the feeling that's exactly what he was planning for me to do. We were married at sunset, 1 week later. The ceremony was intimate by billionaire standards, only 50 guests on the beach. I wore a custom gown that felt like wearing clouds. Nathaniel's hand was steady as he slid the wedding band next to my engagement ring. "You look beautiful," he whispered as we posed for photographs, his arm around my waist. "You look convinced," I replied, maintaining my smile for the cameras. The flash drive he'd given me had contained exactly what he promised, everything he had on me. Police reports. Witness statements. Newspaper clippings about the night that changed everything. The night I saw James Harrington, heir to Harrington Pharmaceuticals, murder a woman in a Seattle hotel room. I'd been working room service. Wrong place, wrong time. The official investigation ruled it a suicide, despite my statement. Then the threat started. My apartment was broken into. My cat disappeared. A car tried to run me down outside the hotel. The message was clear: recant or die. So Olivia Chambers disappeared, and Olivia Reynolds was born. New city. New name. New life, until Nathaniel Blackwood found me. What the flash drive didn't contain was why this mattered to him. What connected Nathaniel to James Harrington or the dead woman? Why spend millions to find me and millions more to marry me? Champagne, Mrs. Blackwood. A server appeared with a tray. Mrs. Blackwood. The name felt like a costume. "Thank you," I said, taking a glass. Across the reception, I spotted the man who'd been watching me all evening, tall, with a military bearing despite his expensive suit. He'd arrived with Richard Hargrove but hadn't been introduced. "Who is that?" I asked Nathaniel when he returned from speaking with guests. "Who?" "The man by the palm trees. The one who hasn't taken his eyes off me all night." Nathaniel's expression didn't change. "That's Carter. Security consultant. Why does he keep watching me?" "Because I pay him to." Nathaniel took my elbow, guiding me toward another group of guests. "He's part of your protection detail." "Protection from what?" "The world can be dangerous for a billionaire's wife." The reception continued into the night. I played my part, the blushing bride, the fairytale come true. I laughed at jokes from tech executives who looked at me like I was a curiosity. I accepted congratulations from women whose smiles never reached their eyes. Around midnight, Nathaniel announced we were retiring. Cheers and suggestive comments followed us as we walked back to the main house. Once inside, Nathaniel immediately loosened his tie. "You did well tonight," he said, pouring himself a scotch. The Morgans were particularly impressed. Glad to hear my performance met standards. I kicked off my heels. "So what now?" "Separate bedrooms." He looked amused. "That would hardly support our narrative." "You can't seriously expect." "I expect nothing physical from you, Olivia. But appearances matter. We share a suite. What happens behind closed doors is our business." The master suite was larger than most homes, with separate bathrooms and a sitting area between the sleeping quarters. Still, the massive bed dominated the space. "I'll take the couch," Nathaniel said, surprising me. "Such a gentleman," I muttered, disappearing into the bathroom to remove my wedding dress. When I emerged in silk pajamas, Nathaniel was on the balcony, phone pressed to his ear. His voice carried through the open doors. "Yes, it's done." "No, she doesn't suspect." "The Harrington meeting is confirmed for next month." "Yes, she'll be there." I froze. Harrington. James Harrington, the man I'd fled from, the man who'd tried to kill me. Nathaniel was meeting with him? I retreated silently, heart pounding. When Nathaniel returned, I pretended to be asleep on my side of the bed. The next morning, I found a note instead of a husband, business in Singapore. Back in 3 days. The jet will take you to New York tomorrow for the reception. Carter will accompany you. 3 days alone. I immediately began searching Nathaniel's office, his private rooms, anywhere I might find answers. But the house was a fortress of locked doors and password-protected computers. On my second day of searching, I found something unexpected, a photograph hidden in Nathaniel's bedside drawer. A young woman with his eyes and smile, maybe 20 years old. On the back, written in faded ink, Rebecca, always. Mrs. Blackwood. Elena's voice startled me. Your dress fitting is in 10 minutes. I quickly replaced the photograph. Elena, who is Rebecca? The housekeeper's face went blank. I'm not authorized to discuss Mr. Blackwood's personal matters. I'm his wife. Yes. The stylist is waiting in the East Wing. That night, I tried a different approach. I invited Carter to join me for dinner, claiming I was lonely and wanted company. After 2 glasses of wine, I asked casually, how long have you worked for Nathaniel? 12 years, he replied, remaining professional despite the alcohol. You must know him well. Well enough. Well enough to know about Rebecca. Carter's hand stilled on his wine glass. You should ask Mr. Blackwood about that. I'm asking you. He studied me for a long moment. Mrs. Blackwood, my job is to protect you, not to discuss my employer's past. Protect me from what, exactly? Or is it who? Carter set down his glass. Both. The next day, as the private jet carried us to New York, I stared out the window wondering what game I was playing in. Nathaniel was using me to get to James Harrington, the man who had nearly destroyed my life once before. But why? What connected them? And who was Rebecca? The New York reception was a blur of faces and forced smiles. Hundreds of the elite gathered to celebrate our union. I stood beside Nathaniel, his hand possessively at the small of my back, as he introduced me to people whose net worth exceeded the GDP of small nations. And this, Nathaniel said, his voice changing subtly, is James Harrington. Time stopped. Standing before me was the man from my nightmares, older, grayer, but unmistakable. The same man I'd seen strangle a woman in a hotel room for years ago. Lovely to meet you, Harrington said, taking my hand. His eyes showed no recognition. James and I are finalizing a major merger next month, Nathaniel explained. Blackwood Harrington Pharmaceuticals will revolutionize the industry. I felt the room spin. Blackwood Harrington. Nathaniel wasn't just meeting with my would-be killer, he was merging with him. Are you all right, darling? Nathaniel asked, his concern perfectly performed. You look pale. Just overwhelmed, I managed. Perhaps some air. Harrington suggested, his smile never wavering. As Nathaniel led me away, I caught Harrington watching us. Not with suspicion, but with something worse, satisfaction. Later that night, in our hotel suite, I confronted Nathaniel. You're merging with Harrington Pharmaceuticals? The company run by the man who tried to kill me. Yes. No denial. No explanation. Why? Is this some elaborate revenge plot? Are you serving me up to him? Nathaniel approached slowly, like I was a frightened animal. If I wanted to hand you over to Harrington, I wouldn't have married you first. Then what is this? Why find me? Why marry me? Why bring me face to face with him? Because, Nathaniel said, his voice dropping to a whisper, James Harrington killed my sister Rebecca. And you're the only person alive who can help me destroy him. Your sister? The words hung between us in the silent hotel suite. Rebecca was your sister? Nathaniel walked to the window, staring out at the Manhattan skyline. Half-sister, technically. Same father, different mothers. And Harrington killed her. My mind raced, trying to connect the pieces. The woman in the hotel room, that was Rebecca. He turned, his face carved from stone. Rebecca Elizabeth Blackwood. 26 years old. Brilliant biochemist. She was developing a revolutionary cancer treatment at Blackwood Labs. His voice cracked slightly. She was also investigating Harrington's newest drug. Evidence suggested they'd falsified safety data. The night she died, she called to tell me she'd found proof. I sank onto the edge of the bed. The official report said suicide. Bought and paid for. The Seattle PD detective who led the investigation retired to a multi-million-dollar home in Belize 3 months later. But I saw him kill her. I gave a statement, which mysteriously disappeared from police records. Nathaniel's eyes met mine. By the time I learned of your existence, you'd vanished. It took years and millions of dollars to find you. Why not just go to the FBI? Or the media? With what? A grieving brother's suspicions? Harrington's father was a senator. His family has connections throughout the justice system. Nathaniel's laugh was bitter. I tried the legal route. Every door closed in my face. So you decided to marry me instead? Make me face my would-be killer. I decided to get justice the only way left, by destroying Harrington from within. He sat beside me, close enough that I could smell his cologne. The merger gives me access to everything, their research, financials, internal communications. With you by my side as a witness to his crime, we can finally bring him down. And if I'd refused your proposal? I had contingencies. Of course he did. Nathaniel Blackwood always had a plan. Why didn't you tell me this from the beginning? I asked. Would you have believed me? Or would you have run again? His eyes searched mine. I needed you to commit first. To be legally bound to me before I revealed the truth. So this whole marriage is just an elaborate revenge plot. Justice, he corrected. Not revenge. What's the difference? Revenge is emotional. Justice is strategic. He took my hand, his touch surprisingly gentle. Rebecca deserves justice. And so do you. I pulled away, standing to put distance between us. You manipulated me. Used my mother's illness, my past, my vulnerability. Yes. No excuses. No apologies. How does that make you any better than Harrington? His expression hardened. I've never killed anyone. No, you just collect people's secrets and use them as leverage. You buy and sell lives like stocks. I do what's necessary. Necessary for what? Your vendetta? For justice, he repeated, rising to face me. Harrington Pharmaceuticals released a drug last year that caused liver failure in thousands of patients. They knew the risks and buried the data. Rebecca tried to stop them, and they killed her for it. Now they're about to release another drug with falsified safety studies. How many more people will die if we don't stop them? I turned away, mind spinning. This is too much. It's the truth you wanted. The truth. I laughed bitterly. You've orchestrated every moment since you walked into that restaurant. You've planned my every move, my every choice. What part of this is truth? My sister is dead. Harrington killed her. You witnessed it. He stepped closer. Those are the only truths that matter. And us? This marriage? What truth is there in that? Something flickered across his face, vulnerability, perhaps. That was never part of the plan. What does that mean? Before he could answer, his phone rang. He checked the screen, his expression changing instantly. It's Harrington. I watched as Nathaniel transformed, his voice becoming warm, friendly. James. Yes, wonderful evening. Absolutely, lunch tomorrow sounds perfect. My wife? I'm sure she'd be delighted. After ending the call, he turned to me. Harrington wants to meet with us tomorrow. He's particularly interested in getting to know you. Cold fear washed over me. He recognizes me. Impossible. You've changed your appearance significantly. Different hair color, weight, style. A man doesn't forget the face of a witness to murder. He saw you for seconds in a dimly lit room for years ago. Trust me, he doesn't know. Trust you. The words tasted bitter. You've lied to me from the beginning. I've omitted truths. There's a difference. Not to me. I grabbed my coat. I need air. Olivia. Don't. I held up my hand. I need to think. Alone. Carter was waiting outside our suite, ever vigilant. I'd like to go for a walk, I told him. I'll accompany you, Mrs. Blackwood. The night air was cool against my skin as we walked through the hotel's garden. My mind raced with everything Nathaniel had revealed. Rebecca's murder. Harrington's crimes. Nathaniel's years-long plan for justice, or revenge, whatever he wanted to call it. Carter, I said finally, did you know Rebecca? He hesitated before answering. Yes. I was her security detail before she was killed. I stopped walking. And now you protect me. Mr. Blackwood has concerns for your safety. Because of Harrington? Carter's professional mask slipped slightly. Harrington is dangerous. More dangerous than you realize. What aren't you telling me? He looked around, ensuring we were alone. Rebecca wasn't just investigating falsified data. She found evidence of human trials, unauthorized, illegal. Test subjects who disappeared when the results were unfavorable. My blood ran cold. Murders? Dozens, possibly hundreds. Harrington's new drug has a fatal flaw that triggers catastrophic organ failure in certain genetic profiles. Rebecca discovered it. That's why she died. And Nathaniel wants me to help bring him down by attending lunch with a mass murderer. Mr. Blackwood has a plan. His plans put me in danger. Carter's expression softened slightly. Mrs. Blackwood, I've worked for your husband for 12 years. I've never seen him like this, not just determined, but different. Since he found you. What do you mean? He's always been calculating, strategic. But with you. Carter seemed to choose his words carefully. The plan was to find a witness, secure their testimony, and take down Harrington. The marriage was supposed to be a legal formality. And now? Now I think it's become something he didn't anticipate. I thought of the moments when Nathaniel's mask had slipped, the vulnerability in his eyes, the gentleness of his touch. Had those been real, or just another layer of manipulation? When I returned to our suite, Nathaniel was working at his laptop, surrounded by documents. If I do this, I said, if I help you take down Harrington, what happens afterward? To us. He looked up, his expression unreadable. That depends. On what? On whether you can forgive me for how this began. It wasn't the answer I expected. Not from the man who had planned everything down to the smallest detail. I don't know, I admitted. Then we'll start there, he said quietly. With honesty. As I prepared for bed, I caught him watching me with an expression I couldn't decipher. For the first time since this began, Nathaniel Blackwood looked uncertain. And somehow, that gave me hope. The restaurant Harrington chose was exclusive even by Manhattan standards, a private dining room with views of Central Park, no other patrons within earshot. Perfect for intimate conversation. Or for murder. I wore a navy dress Nathaniel had selected, my hair swept up to expose the diamond earrings he'd given me that morning. For luck, he'd said, though we both knew luck had nothing to do with what was about to happen. Harrington rose as we approached, all charm and polished manners. Nathaniel. And the lovely Mrs. Blackwood. Please, sit. Up close, he was more terrifying than in my nightmares, not because he looked monstrous, but because he didn't. He looked like someone's grandfather, with kind eyes and an easy smile. The banality of evil made flesh. Olivia, isn't it? Harrington's gaze lingered on my face. Unusual name. It reminds me of someone. My heart stuttered. Beneath the table, Nathaniel's hand found mine, squeezing gently. My mother's choice, I said, forcing a smile. She was an English professor with a fondness for Shakespeare. 12th Night, Harrington nodded. A tale of disguise and mistaken identity. How fitting. The waiter arrived with champagne, saving me from responding. As Harrington ordered for the table, not bothering to ask our preferences, I felt the weight of the recording device Nathaniel had concealed in my earrings. One conversation. That's all we needed. Harrington admitting to what he'd done to Rebecca, to the falsified drug trials, to any of it. I must say, Harrington continued after the waiter left, your marriage surprised many of us. Nathaniel has always been so, focused on business. Sometimes the right person changes everything, Nathaniel replied, his thumb tracing circles on my palm. Indeed. Harrington's smile didn't reach his eyes. Though I wonder what a waitress and a tech billionaire could possibly have in common. You'd be surprised, I said, meeting his gaze directly. I'm rarely surprised, Mrs. Blackwood. He sipped his champagne. For instance, I wasn't surprised when Nathaniel proposed this merger. I've been expecting it for years. Have you? Nathaniel's voice remained casual. Of course. Ever since your sister's unfortunate passing. Harrington set down his glass. Such a tragedy. Suicide is always so messy. My fingers tightened around Nathaniel's. Especially when it isn't suicide, Nathaniel said quietly. The air between us changed, charged with dangerous electricity. Careful, Nathaniel. Harrington's voice dropped. Some might consider such statements libelous. Not if they're true. Harrington's laugh was soft. Truth is such a malleable concept. Take your lovely wife, for example. His eyes locked with mine. The truth about her is particularly interesting. Ice flooded my veins. He knew. Somehow, he knew. I'm not sure what you mean, I managed. No. Harrington reached into his jacket, removing a small envelope. Perhaps these will refresh your memory. He slid the envelope across the table. With trembling fingers, I opened it. Inside were photographs, surveillance images from the Seattle hotel. Me, in my room service uniform. Me, giving a statement to police. Me, for years younger but unmistakably the same person. Olivia Chambers, Harrington said, the name falling like a death sentence from his lips. The missing witness. Imagine my surprise when she resurfaced as Nathaniel Blackwood's bride. Nathaniel's expression remained impassive. You've been investigating my wife. Just as you've been investigating me. Harrington's smile was reptilian. Did you really think I wouldn't recognize the woman who tried to destroy me? The woman who claimed to see something that never happened. I know what I saw, I said, finding my voice. What do you think you saw? Harrington corrected. A distraught young woman, overwhelmed by personal problems, takes her own life. A traumatized hotel employee misinterprets the scene. It's a tragedy, but hardly murder. Rebecca wasn't suicidal, Nathaniel said. She was about to expose your company's criminal negligence. Allegations without evidence. Harrington leaned forward. Just like last time. Not quite, I said, my heart pounding. This time we have evidence. Harrington's eyes narrowed. What evidence? Rebecca's research, Nathaniel replied. Her complete findings on Vitacor's fatal side effects. The data you thought died with her. For the first time, Harrington's composure slipped. Impossible. We seized her computers, her notes. She was smarter than you gave her credit for, Nathaniel said. She created backups. Encrypted, distributed storage that would unlock if she didn't enter a passcode every 72 hours. You're bluffing. The FDA doesn't think so. Neither does the Justice Department. Nathaniel checked his watch. They should be serving search warrants at your offices right about now. Harrington's face drained of color. You can't. We already have. I removed one earring, placing it on the table. And now we have your confession too. Rage transformed Harrington's features. You think this changes anything? People like you don't win against people like me. Actually, said a voice behind us, they just did. Carter stood there, alongside two men in suits who quickly identified themselves as federal agents. James Harrington, one said, you're under arrest for the murder of Rebecca Blackwood and conspiracy to commit fraud against the United States government. As they led Harrington away, his final words chilled me, this isn't over, Olivia. Not for you. Not for anyone you love. The next hours passed in a blur of statements and debriefings. By nightfall, the news had broken worldwide, pharmaceutical titan arrested, deadly drug pulled from market, whistleblower vindicated posthumously. Nathaniel and I returned to our hotel suite in silence. The victory felt hollow somehow, the culmination of years of planning reduced to paperwork and press releases. Is it really over? I asked as we stood on the balcony, the city lights glittering below us. The legal battle is just beginning, Nathaniel said. But Harrington will never hurt anyone again. And us? What happens to us now? He turned to face me, his expression more open than I'd ever seen it. That depends on you. On me. The contract stipulated 1 year, he said. I'll honor that. Your mother's treatment continues regardless. The money is yours. You're free to leave whenever you choose. Is that what you want? Something vulnerable flickered in his eyes. What I want stopped mattering the moment I decided to use you to get to Harrington. Tell me anyway. He hesitated, then, I want you to stay. Not because of contracts or arrangements. Not because I need you for some plan. His voice softened. Because somewhere between the manipulation and the lies, I fell in love with you. The real you. How can I believe that? How can I trust anything about this? You can't, he admitted. I've given you no reason to. But I'm asking you to try. I studied his face, the face of a man who had orchestrated my entire life for the past months, who had used my past and my mother's illness to bend me to his will. A man who had also, perhaps, saved my life by finding me before Harrington did. I need time, I said finally. Real time, not controlled or manipulated. Time to figure out who I am outside of your plans. I understand. The resignation in his voice was genuine. But, I continued, I'm not leaving. Not yet. Hope flickered across his features. Why? Because despite everything, there are moments when I see something real in you. Something worth knowing. I took a deep breath. And because I think Rebecca would want me to give her brother a chance to be more than his revenge. Nathaniel's composure cracked, emotion raw on his face. I don't deserve that chance. Probably not, I agreed. But you're getting it anyway. 6 months later, we stood on the beach of our island, watching the sunset. My mother, now in remission, walked along the shoreline, stronger each day. The Harrington trial was ongoing, but the evidence was overwhelming. Justice, it seemed, was possible after all. I filed the paperwork today, Nathaniel said, his hand finding mine in the sand. What paperwork? Transferring control of Blackwood Technologies to the Foundation. Rebecca's foundation. He looked at me. It was always about the power to bring Harrington down. Now that it's done, I don't need it anymore. What will you do instead? Whatever you want to do. He smiled, a real smile, one I'd learned to recognize in our months together. The world is open to us now. I leaned against his shoulder, feeling the steady rhythm of his breathing. We weren't perfect. The beginning of our story was built on manipulation and lies. But the middle, the part we were living now, was becoming something true. Something real. I want to help people, I said. People like me, who witnessed something terrible and weren't believed. People who need protection from the powerful. Then that's what we'll do. As the last light faded from the sky, I thought about the journey that had brought us here. A billionaire had knelt to propose to a waitress, yes. But the truth behind it was indeed more shocking, not just the conspiracy and murder that had initiated our union, but the unexpected reality that sometimes love grows in the most damaged places. Sometimes redemption comes disguised as revenge. And sometimes the ending of one story is just the beginning of another. Nathaniel's arm tightened around me as stars appeared above us. What are you thinking about? I smiled, turning to face the man who had found me when I was lost, used me when I was vulnerable, and ultimately loved me when I was broken. I'm thinking, I said, that truth is indeed a malleable concept. But this, thus, might be the most honest thing either of us has ever known. His kiss was gentle, a promise without words. And for the first time since a rainy Tuesday when a billionaire walked into my restaurant, I believed in possibilities I couldn't control or predict. Sometimes, the most shocking truth is that love finds us anyway. And that concludes our thrilling journey. I hope you enjoyed this emotional rollercoaster as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. What did you think of Olivia and Nathaniel's story? Did justice prevail? Can love truly grow from such complicated beginnings? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe for notifications about future stories. Your support means everything. Thank you for reading. Red Heart Hash.